Beautiful jazz chords are chords like this, rich sounding chords with lots of colors and extensions. They are the amazing pastry of harmony, and like cakes, it's not the only thing you need, but it is nice. Very nice.
That is delicious.
What makes a chord beautiful is in part the chord itself, but it is as much about the chord progression. So I'm going to use a lot of rich and colorful chords, but also show you how amazing they actually sound in some great chord progressions that all work as 2-5-1 alternatives if you want to add a bit of variation to your chord playing. So the starting point is this progression. But as you'll see, then we can pretty much go anywhere starting here, and you can easily make your chords a lot more interesting. The first thing you can try is to not play the usual 2 chord, but instead use a half diminished chord. So in this case, a D half diminished, where I'm adding a few extra colors to it by giving it a 9 and an 11. Another thing you want to notice is how I'm not playing a major 7 chord for the C. Instead, I'm going with a C6-9, which is a really beautiful sound, and you want to get used to mixing up those two because they can pretty much replace each other all the time. A theme that you'll see in a lot of these examples is that the progression is in C major, but I'm using chords that are in C minor, just to change things up. And being aware that you can also use chords from minor can create some fantastic sounds. The strongest pull in music is probably the dominant resolving to the tonic. But it's then also a bit obvious and not so interesting. So in that respect, I think it's a pity that so many people try to explain all theory as 5-1 resolutions. Kind of makes it a little bit boring, and you can replace a 5 chord with a subdominant chord that's much more tasty and mysterious, like this, which is an F minor chord that has some really nice colors added to it. This next progression is using a bright chord for a minor subdominant, namely the flat 6 major 7. But that then resolves via the dominant to an even brighter major 7 tonic. This is the main cadence in Cole Porter's Night and Day, and maybe the lyrics are kind of fitting in the harmony by starting in sort of a dark minor and then ending in major. For this one, I added a sharp 11 to the tonic chord just to make it even more bright and shining. It really sounds great. You can also choose to stick to only using major 7th chords and then create a mysterious progression where it sort of feels like every chord could be the resolution. Here I'm starting on the 4 chord, so F major 7. Then I'm moving to the Neapolitan subdominant, and then finally resolving that to C major 7. The Neapolitan subdominant is in this case a 4 minor triad, so F minor with a D flat in the bass as a leading note when it resolves down to a C major 7 chord. So it's still a minor subdominant, and it always sounds amazing. The next example will also add some pentatonic chords to the C major 7 chord. Before diving into the pentatonic passing chords, then I need to introduce another minor subdominant variation, the backdoor dominant. In this case, a B flat 7, which is the flat 7 in the key of C major. So this dominant chord is in fact a minor subdominant in the context. I guess you want to see it as being sort of an F minor 6 with a B flat in the bass. The next chord is a classic jazz trick, the tritone substitution. This is a pretty simple idea. In C major, then the dominant is of course G7. And a G7 chord actually shares the tritone interval, so these two notes, with another dominant, D flat 7. So you can exchange one for the other, and the basic flow of the harmony still works. Check out this example, and then I'll explain the pentatonic chords on the C major 7. In this example, I'm playing 3 chords on C major 7. And if you take away the C that I'm sometimes adding under it, then really this is just playing chords made from E minor pentatonic. And this works because when we have the C in the bass, then the notes of the E minor pentatonic scale are really just giving us sort of the basic chord tones and also some really nice colors. So you have the C, and then over that you get E, G, A, B, and D, which will be the 3rd the 5th, the 13th, the major 7, and the 9th. So all pretty notes that you definitely want to hear on a C major 7. Here's a different take on changing the chords with a progression pretending to be a 2-5. This way of using major 7 chords can work as a nice suspension, but here it actually also becomes sort of a motivic development with the chord progression that is really a smooth way of combining the flat 6 and the flat 2 major 7 chords. There's another even more weird way to use major 7 chords that I'll show you after this one. In this next example, I'm moving around major 7 chords in an even more weird way. So I'm starting on the flat 6, playing it with a sharp 11, so A flat major 7. Then I'm going up to a B major 7 flat 5, which is really like a D flat 7 with a B in the bass. So it's sort of a disguised tritone substitute or an altered dominant, like a G7 altered, and it resolves beautifully to C major 7. Check it out. With progressions like these, you can hear that there's also a creative component to putting together chords, both in how you voice lead them and how you choose what chords to add to the progression. The best place to develop this is in chord melody, where you can color the chords and really add your own take to the song. If you want to explore this way of playing, then check out this video where I cover both the basic approach and some of the ways that you can create variations of common progressions that actually fit the song.